In this world, every day thousands of people are reported missing. Most of these missing individuals are eventually found. Some have run away from home, others have been kidnapped or murdered, and some are trying to escape reality by disappearing on purpose. However, throughout human history, there have been some disappearances that remain unsolved, becoming enduring mysteries that continue to perplex people. On May 30th, 2005, 18-year-old American teenager Natalie Ann Holloway went missing on the Dutch Caribbean island of Aruba, and the case remains unsolved to this day. Natalie graduated from Mountain Brook High School in the Birmingham suburb of Alabama on May 24th, 2005, and on May 26th, she and 124 classmates arrived in Aruba for a 5-day informal graduation trip. Aruba is a beautiful island surrounded by the sea, known as a paradise for vacationers, and has been rated by travel magazines as one of the world's top 25 beaches. The island has more than 100,000 residents and welcomes nearly 1 million tourists each year. Natalie was scheduled to return home on May 30th, but she did not make it to the airport for her flight. Her classmates last saw her outside a nightclub in Orangeton. At that time, Natalie got into a car driven by local resident Joran van der Sloot, along with brothers Deepak Kalpo and Satish Kalpo. After being questioned, all three claimed they only drove Natalie back to her hotel and knew nothing about her whereabouts afterward. Authorities further investigated and arrested van der Sloot twice and the Kalpo brothers 3 times, suspecting their involvement in the disappearance. However, due to lack of evidence, all 3 were released without being charged. Hundreds of volunteers and Aruban investigators launched a large-scale search operation to find Natalie. The FBI sent several agents to participate, and another 50 Dutch soldiers and 3 specially equipped Dutch Air Force F-16 Fighting Falcons joined the search. In addition to ground searches, May divers also searched the sea for Natalie's body, but found nothing. On December 18th, 2007, the Aruban prosecutor's office announced the closure of the case and stated that no suspects would be prosecuted. On February 1st, 2008, after obtaining a video clip in which van der Sloot confessed, the Aruban prosecutor's office announced the resumption of the case investigation and evidence collection. According to the video, van der Sloot claimed that Natalie had died on the morning of May 30th, 2005, after using DM, and her body was disposed of by one of his friends. Van der Sloot later denied the truth of his statement in the video, then in an interview claimed to have sold Natalie as a sex slave, and later denied the truth of this statement. The subsequent investigation of this case has been full of twists and turns, and has been widely reported by many media around the world, making the case more complex. The governor of Alabama even stated at a press conference that he supports the call for residents of the state and others to boycott Aruba. Aruba's Prime Minister Oduber stated that Aruban investigators have done their best to solve the case and called the U.S. boycott ridiculous and irresponsible behavior. On January 12, 2012, a judge in Alabama declared Natalie Ann Holloway legally dead. On June 13, 2005, Kyle Stewart, a 62-year-old, went missing near the Rimitaka Forest Park, located close to the capital city of Wellington in New Zealand. The Rimitaka Forest Park spans an area of about 220 square kilometers, making it an ideal place for camping and outdoor adventures. The park is home to a variety of wildlife, including birds, deer, and goats, which makes it popular among hikers and hunters. Kyle was a retired physiotherapist who remained in good health and had a cheerful personality. She had twin daughters with her husband. Her daughters recalled that hiking such trails was not a problem for Kyle, as she had done it many times before without any issues. According to her family, Kyle left home around 10:45 on June 13th. However, she did not return home by evening, and her phone was unreachable. Her family went to the park to search for her, but were unsuccessful, prompting them to call the police. The police quickly located Kyle's car parked at the entrance of a byway, with the doors locked and her belongings still inside. There were no signs of struggle or a search. Subsequently, the police organized a search team of 40 people, using search dogs and helicopters equipped with infrared sensors, to conduct a thorough 3-day search of the area, but with no results. However, the police found a witness who claimed to have seen Miss Stewart on the day of the incident. The witness was Gary Barker, a forestry worker from the New Zealand Department of Conservation who was stationed in the park and responsible for patrolling the forest. He told the police that around 1:15 p.m. on the day of the incident, a woman had asked him for directions in front of his cabin in the woods before leaving. He also added that the woman seemed normal and did not appear to be injured. Another witness stated that around 5 p.m. on the day of the incident, they saw a red all-terrain vehicle speeding along the mountain road. It was getting late, and that road led deep into the forest, a place almost no one would go to at night. The police then shifted their focus back to the park ranger, Jerry Barker, who was the last person to see Miss Stewart. The police were also puzzled by Barker's testimony because Kyle was familiar with the area and Barker happened to own a red all-terrain vehicle. The police searched Barker's vehicle and home and also used luminol to check Barker's clothes, but no progress was made. Barker vehemently denied any involvement in the case. The police offered a reward of 50,000 New Zealand dollars to the public for any leads on the case. To this day, the case remains unsolved, and both Kyle's family and the police believe that she has met with an unfortunate fate. Years later, Kyle Stewart's family erected a memorial bench in the Wellington Botanic Garden as a tribute to her memory. The MV Joyita was a merchant ship where, in 1955, 25 passengers and crew members mysteriously vanished in the South Pacific. What was eerie was that the ship was later found adrift by search and rescue personnel, but no crew or passengers were discovered. This 21-meter-long merchant ship was originally built in 1931 as a luxury yacht for film director Roland West at the Wilmington Shipyard in Los Angeles, and it was named after his wife. In October 1941, just before the Pearl Harbor incident, the Joyita was acquired by the U.S. Navy and taken to Pearl Harbor in Hawaii to be used as a patrol boat. In 1943, the ship suffered severe damage, and the U.S. Navy repaired it. After World War II ended in 1946, the ship was sold to a private party and changed hands several times. On the morning of October 3, 1955, around 5 a.m., the Joyita departed from Apia, Samoa, heading for the Tokelau Islands, 434 kilometers away. The ship was originally scheduled to set sail the previous day at high tide, but it was delayed due to a malfunctioning clutch on the port engine. The Joyita eventually left Samoa on a single engine, carrying 16 crew members and 9 passengers, along with cargo such as medical supplies, timber, firearms, and various food items. The Joyita was scheduled to arrive at its destination on October 5th. On October 6th, the ship did not arrive in the Tokelau Islands as expected, and no ships or ground control centers reported receiving distress signals from the crew. A search and rescue operation was then launched. The search operation lasted from October 6th to October 12th, covering an area of nearly 260,000 square kilometers of sea, but no trace of the Joyita or any passengers or crew members was found. 5 weeks later, on November 10th, a merchant ship reported sighting the Joyita. At that time, the ship was partially submerged and severely listing in the waters north of Vanuatu in Fiji. No passengers or crew were found and 4 tons of cargo were missing. Additionally, the growth of the barnacles above the usual waterline indicated that the Joyita had been listing in this manner for some time. There was some damage to the upper part of the ship, and the bridge had suffered varying degrees of damage, with the glass in the cockpit shattered. The rescue team noticed that the ship's radio frequency had been manually tuned to 2,182 kHz, the International Maritime Distress Frequency. Furthermore, the ship's clock had stopped at 10:25, and the cabin lights and navigation lights were on, suggesting that the incident may have occurred at night. The ship's logbook, sextant, mechanical chronometer, and other navigational equipment, as well as firearms stored on board, were all missing. A medical kit was found on the deck, containing a stethoscope, scalpels, and 4 blood-stained bandages. There was still fuel in the tank, and the radio equipment might have been faulty. Although the Joyita was found with its hull and lower deck flooded, the ship was still intact, and rescuers had heard the sound of water entering the vessel. Subsequent investigations revealed that a pipe in the engine cooling system's raw water circuit had failed due to galvanic corrosion, which may have allowed water to enter the hull, and perhaps by the time the crew first noticed the leak, there was already a significant amount of seawater in the bilge, making it almost impossible to locate the leak. Moreover, the bilge pump did not have a filter and was clogged with debris, meaning that it would have been difficult for the crew to pump out the water at that time. A particularly puzzling question is that the 3 life rafts originally carried on the ship were missing, but it made no sense for the crew and passengers to have voluntarily abandoned the ship, because even with water in the bilge, the Joyita was equipped with 640 cubic feet of cork lining for transporting refrigerated goods, making its hold almost unsinkable, and this was indeed the case, as the rescuers found the ship afloat and not sunk. In addition, a batch of empty fuel barrels could have provided more buoyancy for the ship. According to media reports, a friend of Captain Miller of the Joyita, named Brown, claimed that Miller and First Officer Chuck Simpson had a tense relationship, and the two had previously fought over a conflict, resulting in injuries to both. Investigators believe that Captain Miller should bear some responsibility for the incident, because he insisted on sailing with only one engine working and allegedly violated maritime regulations by carrying passengers after his passenger license had expired. The Joyita is also known as the Mary Celeste of the South Pacific. The Mary Celeste was an American merchant ship that was found by a Canadian brigantine, the De Gratia, near the 872. It was sailing at full speed towards the Strait of Gibraltar, but no one was found on board. As a result, both the Joyita and the Mary Celeste are often referred to as ghost ships in later times. A ghost ship typically refers to a vessel that is mysteriously rediscovered or sighted after being reported missing or sunk, or a ship found adrift at sea with no crew aboard. Despite many possible theories and hypotheses about this incident, investigators ultimately concluded that, based on the evidence submitted during the investigation, the reason for the disappearance of the people on the Joyita cannot be reasonably explained. What puzzles investigators is what exactly happened on board. Why didn't the crew stay on the ship to wait for rescue? Why did the crew choose to abandon the ship? Where are the weapons, important items, and facilities on board? The answers to these questions may never be known, and the secrets of the Joyita have also sunk into the sea along with the disappearance of the 25 passengers and crew members.